live soon, so stick with us. I don't know if you've been following us on Facebook, but do stick with us via social media. And if this website is to have the impact that we would love for it to have, then we really do need you to spread the word. If you like what you hear today, we need you to spread the word so that when we go live, we have as many people as possible signing up to give us as broad a base as possible of members. So stick with us, send in any thoughts or questions, and we will do our best to answer them. So my name is Sian. I'm here with the rest of the Streams team, which is Matt and Joe and Juliet. And in addition to this, we have our team of advisory members, advisory board members. We have Leah Bowden of Modern Miss Mason. We have Will James of Sanamente Coaching, Rebecca Chambers of the Rise Academy, and also Charlie Widows of Solverboard, and we'll be introducing them to you as we go through this session. So Matt, I wonder if you could play our introductory video.
Yeah, brilliant.
Hi, I'm Juliet.
Hello, I'm Matt.
Hi, my name's Jo.
My name's Sian. Welcome to Streams.
Streams is an online community that equips, encourages and connects home educators.
We do this by sharing real-life stories, reviews of resources and webinars from experts in home education.
There is also an ability to connect with other home educators through our online platform.
We recognise that starting the journey into home educating can be overwhelming.
There can be all sorts of misconceptions around regulations, fears of getting it wrong, overwhelming choice of resources, unnecessary expenses, and not having people around you to learn from.
At Streams, we really want to help you navigate this journey.
We also recognise that there are people whose children have now graduated, who have become experts through their own learning and experience.
Through Streams, we want to help this expertise be fed back into the home educating community.
Sometimes when you start home educating, I know for us, it felt a little bit like jumping out of a plane. You're exhilarated, you're excited, you're in the plane, you get ready, you jump, and then you go, oh, no parachute.
Fear and lack of knowledge hit you. But at Streams, we believe you have wings, and we want to help you to fly. Brilliant. So for anyone who has just joined us, we are Streams. It's great to have you with us as we share with you the vision of Streams. So to kick us off, I'd like to hand over to Jo. Now, Jojo Sweetland is the one who first had the idea for Streams. She is the one who brought us together as a team, and she is the one who has very much been the driving force behind all of this. So Jo, tell us a little more about yourself and also about the vision behind Streams.
Thank you, Sian, and welcome to you all. It's so good to be here and so good to be part of the Learn Free conference. And thank you for Juliet for all her hard work in coordinating and organising and getting us all here. So yeah, my name is Jojo Sweetland, and our home education journey started, my husband and I started 4 years ago home educating. And at that point, my son was in year 5 at school and my twin girls were in year 1. And I was actually chair of governors at their school. And that was really came from a place of wanting to contribute to the community and actually wanting to try to bring back into the school the things that I felt the education system were squeezing out. So outdoor learning and forest school experiences and more play and passion-led projects and adventures within the school environment. And I think my insight as being chair of governors was that actually that's really difficult to do. And that's not because teachers don't work hard, and it's not because they're not passionate, but actually the pressures of Ofsted and the pressures of the education system was just a lot. And so a combination of what I experienced as a governor and actually watching my children, I saw their curiosity was shrinking. The day consisted of getting through, really, and then coming home. And I just felt there had to be more to learning. And so my husband and I went on a journey. We talked, we chatted, we had conversations with family and friends. And then we finally jumped and decided to home educate. And the plan was we were going to give it a go for a year and see how that year went. And we are now 4 years on and do not regret that decision at any point. And we have watched our children come back alive. They are excited, independent most of the time learners, and they are curious and confident and creative. And I love watching them explore the world and life around them. But then when I look back on that first year of home educating, it was pretty overwhelming. And I think probably because we weren't as planned as I know some people are on the home educating journey. For us, it was more of a jump ship. And I think in that first year, the challenge wasn't the kids. The kids were great. They were happy. They were excited. They were doing things differently. But I think for me, there were these constant questions of, should I be teaching a curriculum? What resource should I use? How do I find people? And although I'm a part extrovert, I'm not a big fan of the kind of blind date experience. You know, go meet someone you don't really know and work out if you get on or you don't get on, and do your kids get on? And so I was really grateful when after a year of feeling a little bit lost, I started to find people. I connected with Matt, who moved to Bristol, who's an old friend of ours. His wife and I did the same course at university, and we came together, and actually suddenly the journey was easier. I'd found a buddy, I'd found someone, and then Sian joined us, and our little home ed community in Bristol where we're based started to grow, and actually life felt a lot easier. And so as Matt, Sian and I were talking on this journey, we realized, wouldn't it be great if there was a space you could go to where you could read other people's stories, you could understand their journeys, you could be encouraged and go, I'm not the only one who's doing this. I'm not the only one who has a bad day. I'm not the only one who has days of panic and slight fear, but also hear some of the good stories, the encouraging stories. I love reading stories because they just really warm my heart and help us feel connected with other people. And with that, how do we grab onto the experience of these veteran home educators who've been before us? How do we find out what's out there to use? What's the best tool? What's the best resource that's going to work for my family? What's new? What we've seen during this COVID season is there's new things coming at us all the time. There's new online resources, there's new communities, there's new learning opportunities. And the world of education, actually, we're watching evolve and change as people ask, well, what is education about? And so also within that, we talked about how do you find friends? How do you find your community when you're new or when you've moved somewhere new? And so all of those conversations were happening, and that was really where Streams was birthed from. And within that journey, we then connected with Juliet, and it turned out Juliet had a similar vision for quite a few years about how do you build a community which looks to support and encourage and to come alongside and to share and to connect together. And that really is the vision of Streams. How do we equip, encourage and connect the amazing home education community that we have, not just in the UK, but actually globally? You know, we've got speakers coming from around the world at conference, and that's so exciting. How do we build that community? How do we look to encourage and support each other? So that really is the heart and the vision behind Streams. And we'll spend a little bit more time just drawing you a bit more into that vision and a little bit more about what it means.
Brilliant, thank you, Jo. So as I have mentioned, we have an advisory board team, and I would like now to introduce you to Leah Bowden. For those of you who may have just joined us, Just to remind you that we are streams. We are just in the process of introducing ourselves, of talking about the vision behind streams. And we're about to introduce our first advisory board member, Leah Bowden. So hopefully Matt has got the video there. So we're very excited that one of our advisory board members is Leah Bowden of Modern Miss Mason. Leah, we are so happy that you agreed to join the team. And maybe for those who don't already know you, you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, about Modern Miss Mason, and everything else that you do.
Sure, everything. I'll cut it short, but thank you, Sian. It is a real privilege to be involved with all that Streams is doing, and it's been amazing really to see the journey from the fruition of those kind of light bulb moments of those ideas, and then just being asked to kind of, hey, can we bounce some stuff off you, and always privileged to do that really. Yeah, I'm Leah. I live in Coventry. We've got 4 children. My husband Dave and I got 4 children. My husband works in education. He's a director of a Christian educational charity, and we're both pastors of a church. I have been home educating our children coming up for 15 years, so it's been a while now. Our 2 eldest are now in work and college and off pursuing further things, but I have 2 left at home, and they are 12 and 10. So there's a little bit about our present picture. When I began our homeschooling journey, I met Charlotte Mason and her philosophy of education and the methodology within that, and immediately felt at home really. We were kind of researching, you know, is homeschooling legal in the UK? That was the first thing we were researching. We knew one other family, but then I was looking into what does this look like, and how does this fit with the vision of our family? And the Charlotte Mason educational approach really felt, I think, one, I was warm towards the British heritage of it, but then also, I mean, it really did remind me of many elements of my kind of late 1970s, early 80s childhood. And it just, her approach to motherhood, even though she wasn't a mother, but how she saw and valued motherhood and spoke into it, motherhood, childhood and education was, it was just, I was all in, like, this is great. So really, I mean, even before we began homeschooling, I was reading and researching about that particular methodology. So I became, just got my head into that really, have been a practitioner of that educational method for all these years, but also a student myself of her work. So I, probably 7 or 8 years into that, started sharing our own journey, you know, the video apps and things that were starting to come. And yeah, I do remember one lady coming on and saying, oh, you're just like a modern Miss Mason. And we were like, oh, that's quite a quirky name. Maybe we should just use that for something. Anyway, that grew. I'm very privileged to say that I've signed a publishing deal with Tyndale to write the book Modern Miss Mason. So it's really about sharing Charlotte Mason with a new generation, and the book is covering motherhood, childhood and education. So it's just amazing really to be able to do the raw and real journey yourself, and then gently begin to share that, because you can see it's encouraging others and helping others along the way. So I do coaching and I've got a course, and but you know, the reality is that I am day to day still in the trenches, homeschooling my children, raising my family, cooking the tea, folding the laundry. All that stuff is really what I do. Yeah.
And so now you've got a book that you're writing as well on top of everything else. So you've got so much going on. So really, what is it about Streams that thought, yes, I know, I'll get involved with that and support these guys on their journey?
Yeah, I think there's so much nowadays, our 21st century expression of anything really kind of, I don't know, entrepreneurial business or even pioneering projects. There seems to be a real emphasis on social media and marketing and media, and there's this push to hustle, and there's this push to you know, gain momentum and gather attention from that. What I loved about streams is that even though, yes, we want to get our name out there, we want people to know about this, it wasn't about attention, it was about connection. And connection was the thing that seemed to be the yearning of many homeschoolers' hearts. Is yes, all this stuff is great, it's all out there, it all looks beautiful, I can pick from a myriad of things of curriculum and purchasing, but actually for me, the secret of longevity in homeschooling, one element of that has been connection and community, and it's not always easy to find, and I think that can be our starting place. And I think what part of the vision of streams is to help people find each other, to find commonality, to be able to get into the real conversation of homeschooling, you know, initially here in the UK as we're here on the Learn Free conference, really to start here, and I'm sure it will grow and it will go wider. But to be able to truly find each other, and not just in the chit chat of Instagram or social media or whatever it is, but in the real stuff of what's going on day to day, you know, in our homes and in our culture and in our communities and just in our own personal context. And I loved that. I loved hearing that. Like, Streams wants to strengthen connection across the homeschooling community. And I'm all about that. I'm all into that. And it's not always easy. And that doesn't mean, I think sometimes introverts can find that quite overwhelming. And I think also, you know, my tendency is introversion. And even though I've got, you know, you might have a following and you're busy doing all sorts of things, my place of re-energizing is in the quiet, and it is with the one or two close friends that I treasure. And I think to find those one or two or even 10 or whatever it is, you know, and to be able to even just to expand into being able to connect on workshops, which you guys are going to be providing, maybe it's book clubs, reviews, and it's finding a place. We're not saying it's going to be small, but it's going to be a place where connection really trumps that kind of seeking attention. And I love that. I think that's unique. And I'd recommend anyone to get signed up and get involved and just see where it takes you.
Oh, Leah, that's so beautifully expressed. Thank you so much. And yes, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. It's going to be great.
So that was the lovely Leah Bowden. I loved what she was saying about strengthening connection. That really is at the heart of streams. That is what we want, to absolutely strengthen connection between home educators. So I'd like to hand over to Matt Harris. So Matt heads up our social media, and thank goodness he's pretty good with IT too, which has been amazing. So if you have been following us on Facebook, it's Matt who has been posting regularly all sorts of thoughts and articles. So if you haven't seen us on Facebook already, then do start following us. So Matt, we have heard from Jo about the vision behind streams. We have heard from one of our advisory board members, Leah. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit more about you, and also how we landed on the name Streams.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you very much, Sean. So yeah, my name's Matt. I'm married to Nick. I have 2 daughters. Fortunately, they're the same ages as Jo's children, so it worked out really well. So we moved from Surrey to Bristol in August 2018, when my wife went to study at Trinity College here in Bristol. And we're only supposed to, it's that classic thing, we're only supposed to be here for 2 years. And we thought about all the different options available to the girls with their education. And we'd seen, so Jo and their family had been home educating for a year. And they, like Jo explained, really seen their kids come alive with this thing. And I thought, well, I'm happy to jump on that bandwagon. And also the idea that we would only be in Bristol for 2 years. We were then due to go back to the southeast of England, and we I thought, okay, well, this is a great opportunity to be able to connect with my daughters over this time and explore a different way of doing education. And also in my my past life, I was a youth worker, and I'd seen maybe some of the impact of the school system on some of the young people. So I was dealing a lot with issues with around stress and anxiety and panic attacks and that sort of thing. Although school wasn't like the main cause, there were certain things I felt about the system didn't help young people. A little caveat: I do kind of the work, having worked in a school as a youth worker, the work that so many of the teachers and support staff do for our young people is incredible, and it's almost like, despite the system that they do this incredible stuff. So anyway, we came down to Bristol, and that's where this home ed journey was supposed to be for 2 years, and yeah, we're well past that now. So that's that's kind of our story coming into it. So we come to streams. Why streams? Well, there were a number of different things regarding that. And one was this idea, I think it came from a Brené Brown quote about being standing at the edge of a wilderness and looking out and going, right, I'm going to make this step, I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to take a step out into that wilderness, not knowing exactly what's coming. And I think for many people in the who choose this countercultural way of doing education, doing home education, it can feel a little bit like that. It can feel like you're on the edge of this wilderness, and you're just going to take a step. I'm going to be brave. So everyone that's done that, I know how that feels. You are a brave community to step out into that space, and through that, I kind of thought, actually, to be honest, we've gone through lots of different names, some of which weren't very good at all, but the theme of streams came through with that idea of streams bring life in the wilderness. So you'll see things grow next to streams. Also, people gather around streams as well, and so that's a really important thing, that point of gathering. And also for acknowledgement for us as a group of people, we realise that so many people do things in many different ways within the home ed community, and that's good, and that's to be celebrated, and that's a really positive thing. And each stream of home education brings a different thing, and people choose that for different reasons, and that's good. Like I say, it has to be celebrated. So in the end, we fixed on this name of streams to try and encapsulate all of that. And the little bird, little brand stamp that we have is there to acknowledge that with those different, the path isn't always straight, the streams on the wings, but also our heart with streams is to see people fly within their home, within home education, and to be all they can be, and to be the best family, the best home educators they can be. And if streams can be a little part of that, then we've done our job. So that's a little bit of why we decided, we eventually landed on the name Streams.
And it seems like such a while ago now, doesn't it, that we were sat around Joe, your table, I think, and talking about all these different names. And as you said, Matt, some of them were not to be used, but Streams is the one that we all felt was absolutely right. Anybody else got anything else to say about Streams as a name? Thank you, Matt. That was brilliant. So before I introduce Juliet English, who I'm sure needs absolutely no introduction whatsoever, just in case anyone has joined us since we went live with this session, we are the Streams team. Sounds great, actually. Streams team. It works really well. And we are talking about the vision behind this website to encourage, equip, and to connect home educators across the UK. Stay with us. We've got more advisory board members to introduce to you, tell us a little bit more about ourselves and more about how the website works. So Juliet, I remember Joe saying, well, quite a while ago now, I've connected with this lady called Julia English, and I'd like you and Matt to chat to her with a view to her maybe joining the Streams team, if, not that it was Streams at the time, if, of course, she would like to. And with all of your wealth of experience, Juliet, your networks, all your knowledge, are we ever glad that you did join us? So with all that you have going on, what was it about the vision for this website that grabbed you and made you think, yes, I'd like to join this?
Yeah, I think for me it was alignment. You know, it aligned so much with what I was already sort of doing or wanting to do. So I had set up a website in 2017, a Head Hub, which stood for Home Education and Advocacy Hub. And the purpose of that website was to encourage and try and give people what they needed. And you know, but it was hard work trying to keep it up on my own, because I run the conference, I run a home ed group here in Coventry, and trying to do that kind of thing on my own was really hard. So I'd done a few articles, I'd set up the Facebook page and kind of just tried to put out a lot of encouraging messages, because I believe so much just in empowering parents and giving them courage and really firming up their convictions where people are, you know, feel intimidated by the things others say to them. I want to be the one giving the message where they actually, oh yeah, no, actually I can just ignore what those people are saying, because, you know, I read that on Head Hub and it encouraged me, you know. So that was kind of where I was coming from, and it was a bit lonely. And so when, you know, we all know Jo now. I mean, Jo could, I mean, she talks everybody around. Doesn't matter what it is, you know. I think she missed her calling. There should have been a salesman or something, but yeah. So, you know, one conversation with Jo and was like, oh yeah, you know, this sounds good. And so basically at this point, so Head Hub, it will be phasing out eventually. I still have the page and I'm still there, and I will always be accessible to people, but it was more just coming together with other people who have a similar vision and a similar heart for home education. And I think the thing that I wanted to really, that's really been, I've been thinking about the last few days, is why is it that people get so passionate about home education? What is it that makes it like, we're like, no, we're not going to give this up and nobody's going to tell us what to do? What is it? There is something really amazing. And, you know, we want to be a light actually in the community. We want to show parents there's a better way. We want to, when we hear of a parent who's struggling and their child is struggling, we want to actually say to them, look, there's a different way of doing this, you know. And we're a bit frustrated sometimes when, you know, they just continue in that very frustrating cycle that they're stuck in, because, you know, as home educators, you really see that once you've taken that leap, you know, it's like, come on in, the water's fine. Yeah, it'll get a bit tough sometimes, but that's why we hang on to each other, you know. So you kind of like, we can all be bobbing about on our little rafts in the water, but you all can hang on together and you're in it together and you can help each other out. So it was just really that wanting to align with people who could also help take some of that load, you know, where you're trying to manage everything and got a big dream in your mind, because I do have big dreams, big dreams, and having these dreams for years and not being able to actually do anything with them because you're just limited by your own capacity. And so just really wanting to align with these guys, because seeing who they are, seeing the kind of people they are, you know, these are people who are passionate about home education, passionate about family, passionate about children, and thoughtful about it. It's not, this is really, these are things that they've thought about deeply and profoundly, and wanting to pass that on to others. So for me, it was that, just really wanting to align. And, you know, like on our little bird, we've got those little streams and they're all nicely parallel with each other. So so it's kind of like that, you know, you're all going, now we're all flowing together, which is great. So.
Beautiful image, Juliet. And can you tell us a little bit about your own journey into home education?
Yeah, well, for me, this was many years ago. You understand, you know, I'm the old lady of the group. And my oldest was 7 years old, and she was in what was considered a good school in South Africa. And it was really, every day, fetch your children, how was your day? I think for most parents, I won't say for everyone, for most parents, your plan is that your children will go to a great little school or great school, and they'll thrive and do well, and it'll be a fantastic positive experience for them, because that happened for me. I had a great school experience. And then one day, fetching my daughter from school, asking her how her day was, and she's saying, "Oh, I'm stupid." And as a parent, your heart just sinks, and you try and find out what the problem is. Why is your child feeling that way? Because the last thing we want as parents for our children to grow up believing that they're stupid. We've seen many, many adults who suffer well into their old age with the effects of those kinds of words and believing that about themselves. And so it was that journey, sort of trying to question, trying to figure out what was going, talk to the school, try things out, and eventually realizing, I don't know if this is going to work. And just by chance, my husband picking up a magazine with an article on home education and starting that questioning for us, wait, this is a thing, we could do this. And then moving on, finding out more and more. And the interesting thing about home education is the reason you start is often not the reason you continue. So a lot of people start out of a crisis or out of a reaction. And it's interesting when you run a home education group, you see people who are fresh into home education, and you see their worries and their concerns and even behaviors, the kinds of questions they ask, which you sometimes think, such silly questions. But over time, as you watch these, not just the children blossom, but the parents blossom. And the parents come into their own and just become transformed through home educating their children. And I think that's why I'm passionate about the parents. My passion is honestly really for the parents, because you equip the parents and you empower the parents, the whole family is better off. And that makes a strong, the empowered parent makes them an empowered family. So I know certainly for me that was the case. There's no stagnation. They always think, if you're stuck at home all day, you're going to stagnate. You don't want to get in a conversation with me about my favorite subjects, because I will bend your ear. So no stagnation here.
So Juliet, I mean, you have been home educating for a long time. And I think that's something else at Streams that we're really keen to capture all of the experience of those who have been through, who have got their children through, who have got the badge of honour. Their children are through the other end, and we just don't want to lose that wealth of experience and knowledge that you have. So thank you, Juliet, so much for that. So it is my privilege to now introduce another of our advisory board members. He is Will James of Sanamente Coaching, and Matt, I believe, has the video ready. So it's a really big pleasure to be able to introduce Will James of Sanamente Coaching. Will, hello. And thanks for doing this for us. And I just wonder if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do.
Brilliant. Yes. Well, so I am a leadership and executive coach. I have a background in working in education, in the voluntary sector, and I now mainly work with B Corporation businesses, so mission-driven businesses that are looking to change the world for good in some way. And I get really energized and excited by hanging out with people who have got big ideas and who are wanting to innovate and do something new, where they need to access coaching and thought partnership to perform at their best.
And we certainly have a big idea here at Streams. So just wondering if you could explain to us what it is about Streams that that made you want to agree to be part of our advisory board.
Brilliant. Well, I suppose the first thing is that I'm a father of 3 children. and have also got a background of, I was, for 6 years, I was a secondary school teacher. And I think that there is a need for change, and there's a need for innovation in the education sector. And I think if you can get good people who are motivated by a compelling purpose and see a need for change, and I know, having met you, that you've got a great group of people that are collaborating together, have already been collaborating in the UK and now virtually internationally, and who are looking at that compelling purpose as how do you put children more in the driving seat of their own education. And that is, for me, a core value, is how do you help learners feel more in charge of their learning, and how can you experiment and innovate so that they can go to new places, so that they can ride the sort of motivation of their interest, their curiosity. And such a big part of that, or a blocker for many parents, is the sort of systems and processes and the organizational stuff around it that makes it possible. And the fact that you guys are trying to work out tools and resources and networks that are going to equip students and parents to have the kind of organization and the processes they need to be maximally creative, I think is a really exciting vision, and one that I'm very privileged to get behind, and I'm excited to partner with.
Oh, well, that is so good to hear, and just want to thank you once again for being one of our advisory board members. Thank you very much.
Total pleasure. Thank you.
So for anyone just joining us, that was an introduction to one of our advisory board members, Will James. We have 4 in total. We have already met Leah Bowden. Jo of Streams has introduced herself, as has Matt and Juliet. We've talked a little bit about the vision, why we landed on the name Streams. And a key part of the website that I'd like to talk about now is the reviews and the stories. So with the reviews and the stories, we feel this is a really key part of our connection with each other. So as I've said before, I'm Sian, and I have, along with my husband Matt, I have 3 daughters, and our journey into home education began when my eldest daughter was in year 4 and struggling with dyslexia. I had never entertained the idea of home education at all, but despite a really good relationship with the school, it was clear that we were coming to the end of our journey with her in mainstream education. And so the idea was just to take her out for a couple of years, build up her confidence and her self-esteem before maybe going into secondary education. But as it turned out, after my first very few wobbly months of being utterly terrified most mornings and wondering what on earth it was I was supposed to do, I was privileged to have had the support of Jo from day one, and through Jo to meet other home educators. And slowly, my daughter and I began to navigate our way through home ed, and it became something that I hadn't expected it to become. So it didn't look how I expected it to look. We were still very much within the school community, which was lovely, but also really hard. Our 2 other daughters were still in school. And of course, you have all the curiosity of everybody around you, most of it incredibly well-meaning. But talk about holding your nerve in those early days. Oh my goodness. But with the spark that came back to our daughter's eyes, with the joy that we had of spending time together, we soon decided that this is what we wanted as a family, actually. We wanted this as a lifestyle. We wanted to spend more time together. And we wanted to know what our daughters were doing each day, what they were getting interested in. And so we took the other 2, our other 2 daughters out of mainstream education. And yes, we were really starting to find a new rhythm of life. And then of course comes lockdown and things change again. And we've also recently moved. So we are now in a place of looking for local connection, even though we have a really supportive network. So that's a bit about our story. And the thing that when I started off, to have been able to have read other people's stories would have been such a valuable thing. I wasn't on Facebook at the time. For all sorts of reasons, I wasn't able to be on Facebook. And I know that Facebook does a great job of highlighting resources and of connecting people through different meetups. But those of us not able to be on Facebook, I didn't have that resource. And I remember just in those early days of just grabbing every home educator I met and just saying, what is it you do? What was it like for you? How did you come into home ed? Just tell me a bit about your day. And I just wanted other people's stories. And of course, as you journey along and as you grow in confidence, you begin to understand more and more that this is about your journey, this is about your children. It's quite unique to you. And you start to grow that confidence that actually you can grow this journey, but to know other people, to know their stories is incredibly encouraging, it's valuable. We love this quote from Michelle Obama, which I seem to have just mislaid. Joe, can you help me out? The one about...
Give me a moment.
Sorry, everyone. I did have this lovely quote, which I'm a little flustered, so I can't remember it from memory. But it was all about how stories, when we're real with each other, no, I can't find it. When we're real with each other, it is really empowering, and that's how we connect. And so at Streams, we really do just, it's being real, isn't it? It's being real about the good days, what was good about those days, what were the wins. It's being real about the bad days. It's being real about the wobbles that we might have. It's knowing everybody's tentative journeys into home education. And also, we want these stories to highlight all the different and unique situations for home education that some people find themselves in. And with the reviews, I don't know about you, but certainly when I was starting off, just the sheer amount of resources that are out there can be incredibly overwhelming. And so at Streams, we just thought it would be really good to have other home educators writing reviews about resources that they have used for everyone to be able to see. And then as and when more people sign up and subscribe, we grow a huge database of reviews that people can look at. Does anybody else want to say anything more about that?
No, I think you've covered it really, really well. Yeah, just that whole thing about sharing stories. I love that idea. It's really important because you do feel like you can be on your own a lot of the time. And then, well, fortunately, when we started, we had our families, my family, Joe's family, were together. But it is that. Does everyone else feel like this? Am I the only one that feels this way, or this must have happened to someone else? To be able to share those stories, particularly. Yeah, is really important to know that you're not on your own in this, and it's that connection through story is really, really important.
Yes, absolutely. So I hope that that enlightened you a bit, despite me not being able to find my Michelle Obama quote, which I'm sure I will find by my bedside when I go to sleep tonight, or by the toilet or something.
I've got it for you, Sean. I've got it for you.
Oh, go, Juliet.
It takes courage to share our stories with the world, but in doing so, we open ourselves up to so much grace, healing, and connection.
Boom. Yes, exactly. So, yes, absolutely perfect. I've lost my train of thought a little now, and I'm pretty sure I'm about to introduce Rebecca Chambers, our next advisory board member.
We can do that, totally.
Lovely. So this is Rebecca Chambers of the Rise Academy. And she is coming up in a second, I believe. Bear with us. Introduce Rebecca Chambers of the Rise Academy, and Rebecca is one of our advisory board members. So Rebecca, first of all, thank you so much for being part of the advisory board, and just wondered if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, about the Rise Academy and what you do.
Yes, wonderful. I'm honored to be a part of Streams, and have been lucky to know Joanna and her family for some time, and that's how we connected. I am an educator in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and have worked in our public system with youth between the ages of 13 to I'd say around 20. And in the time that I was in public education, I realized that our system is broken and really wanted to do something about it. So I tried within our public system, and there were still some obstacles. It is changing and it is coming, but unfortunately in a big institution like our education system, it takes a really long time for things to change. So I decided to take a leave for a year and see if I could do some things on my own. I have two daughters. One is 13 and the other one is 8. And you know, part of the reason I'm doing this is, one, I've seen that the education system is broken, and secondly, you know, my two daughters are not a huge fan of school, and so I want things to happen for them. So I started up Rise Academy, and the whole concept behind Rise is that we're not trying to get rid of public education. We are trying to complement it. And I'm giving the opportunity to youth here in Ontario the ability to take maybe 1 or 2 courses outside of the school system, so they can still be a part of their community, they can still be a part of their school, and they can take a couple courses where they get to do things in an alternative way. And we use the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to really guide our learning. And we really focus on 21st century skills, things that they're going to need for the future of work. Yes, so I give my students the opportunity to do work within their own homeschool, but also to have an alternative way of doing things outside of the classroom. And we use the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to find issues in our communities that we care about, that the youth care about, and we co-create projects together so that they can learn to give back to their community. And we do this in very non-traditional ways, things like podcasting and videos and interviewing and all kinds of things.
Wow. Well, we really commend you for taking such a brave step out of the system to set up by yourself. And we'd also like to know, can you tell us a little bit about why Streams has interested you, and what made you actually agree to be on our advisory board?
Yeah, just as I mentioned in the beginning, you know, I met Jo probably it was a year ago now, and her son took one of our social change maker programs, actually 2 of them. And it was at that point when I really started to sort of dive into learning more about homeschooling or home education. And it's really been a huge part of sort of this move into Rise, and really understanding that learning can happen very differently. You know, I was brought up in public education, you know, became a teacher because I believed in it, but then realized that it doesn't work for everybody. And so as I got to know, you know, Jo and her family, and learn more about home education and that world, I was honored to be asked to be a part of the Stream board. And for me, it's also selfishly a personal thing where I'm continuing to learn and grow from all the work that you guys are doing.
Well, we're delighted to have you on board with all of your experience. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
So that was Rebecca, another of our advisory board members. And I know that Jo, you're certainly one of your children has been through the Arise Academy with her. So that's how we know Rebecca. Jo, I wonder if you, for anyone wondering, and by the way, if anyone does have any questions or any comments or any thoughts, and you just want to type those up, then do share those questions. We're more than happy to answer them if we can. But just in case you had a question about subscriptions and membership, Jo's going to talk a bit to that now.
Thanks, Sian. Yes, we are going to be taking the site live in stages, and that's very much due to us seeking funding from organisations to build it into the full vision that we hope it will be. So when we go live, the invite is going to be for people to sign up. We have a membership which is simply about giving us your email, sharing that so you can become part of the Streams community. And that is about us keeping it as a safe space where people who are members will be able to post reviews and share stories, because that's the section of the website that we're taking live to begin with, the sharing stories and the sharing reviews. And as the website evolves, the next stage of the website will be, you'll be able to put in a mini membership bio. So you'll be able to share a little bit about yourself and your family, and perhaps some key things that whether they're quotes to encourage, or your top tip for home educating, or any particular streams that you are involved in, whether your children have perhaps dyslexia, or whether you're a single parent home educating, or whether you live overseas. There'll be ways of connecting with people through your mini bios, which will enable us to build the community. And so I'm actually just going to hand to Matt, who's going to share a bit more about that connection piece. Yeah,
sure. Thank you, Jo. So yeah, as Jo said, initially the first part of that connection is going to be done through the website, as it is through sharing stories and reviews, and being able to connect with other people in a way, just understanding different people's stories and seeing yourself in that. And then hopefully as we develop, well, not hopefully, as we develop, we'll people will be able to share more directly with other people if they want to. And the whole idea is we're making sure we build this safe space, safe community for people to connect with people as they wish. And like Jo was saying, as things develop, we'd love people to be able to think about their own experience. Think, oh, I really would love to connect with someone who's going through something similar to me. So it might be a single parent. Are there other single parents out there that are experiencing this? You know, could help me, give me advice, or just meet up for a chat, and other things like that. So if your children do have dyslexia, how do they to connect with other people, and for children, if that's appropriate for you to work out, for them to connect, and so that's one of the things. One of the through that, hopefully people to meet up physically as well, so that will be one of the ways they can do it. So you'll be able to contact someone else and then be able to say, oh, well, this sounds great, do you fancy meeting up? One of an example of which is like Sian just moving to Monmouthshire and being able to get, and I feel the same thing. I think, oh my goodness, if we did move, what would we do? How do we connect with other people all of a sudden? And then to be able to have this tool to be able to say, right, who's in my area? So if we did move back to the southeast of England, right, who's in this area that's home educating, and who else is home educating in a similar way, has got children of a similar age to us? How do we connect with those? So the connection part of the website that's coming later on down the pipeline will hope to do that. And another thing is about connecting groups as well. So being able to say, okay, what's going on in this area as well? And there might be groups that are happening, so people will be able to share what's happening in a local area. There might be a drama club going on at some point. There might be a sports group happening, and you'll be able to share about those things, and through that connection, be able to find out about those things, so you won't feel so much on your own. I think that covers it.
Thank you. So that's subscription and connection and the different stages of development in the website, and we're very excited about that whole being able to find people locally. That's so exciting. Jo, you were going to come in.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to Matt really in terms of what he commented on. We're not wanting to replace Facebook, because we see that it is such an integral part of our home ed community. And, you know, we are as ourselves personally just so grateful for all the hard work that the administrators do behind the different groups that enable Facebook to function as a resource for the home educating community. I think those groups remain really important for the impromptu chats, for the sharing, again, even still sharing a story or saying this worked really well. But I think probably just wanting to enable this streams will enable a sustainable model which isn't reliant on amazing administrators, but actually a model which will enable our community to grow stronger and to be connected outside of a platform like Facebook. And also recognizing that there are a lot of us who just don't use Facebook. So how do we connect when we're not using that as a social media platform? And then I just wanted to pick up on really the final bit of the website, which we haven't talked about, which is the equipping. And we've talked about the sharing reviews. That's really key. That's really important. What we also want to draw in and will evolve over time is webinars. So we are going to be working, Juliet's going to take a lead on this. How do we run regular webinars which draw in thought leaders in the world of education, draw in experts who are home educators, draw in veteran home educators who have a story to share? How do we have panel discussions? How do we equip ourselves as home educators amidst the flurry and the busyness of our day and juggling kids and carrying all of the daily routine as we do? But how do we take time out to sit down and to actually feed ourselves? How do we learn ourselves? So Juliet will be pulling together a program of experts who will be coming along to offer regular webinars and equip us as a home educating community.
Thank you, Jo. And as we are drawing to a close, if you've stayed with us, we're so grateful. Thank you ever so much. And we have our final advisory board member to introduce to you, and then we will wrap up with answering any questions that anyone has. So Matt, if we can have a look, please, at Charlie. So I am very happy to introduce you to another of our advisory board members, Charlie Widows of Solver Board. So Charlie, thank you so much for spending this time with us today. And we would just love to hear a little bit about yourself, about Solver Board and what it is you do.
Yeah, sure. Hi guys, my name's Charlie and I am the co-founder of Solver Board, which is an innovation platform. So it's designed to help companies innovate better. We're developing Solver Board because we see that this sort of current time being a key period in how companies need to start to innovate better if we're to hit sustainability goals, if they're to become more efficient innovation engines, if they're to reimagine their their own future as businesses and where that might lead to. We're finding that we have to almost unlearn behaviors with their employees that they've learned over time. All the kinds of things that you sort of establish and get good at school. Well, if work is changing into more of a creating either sort of pie-shaped people, if you like, or 5-bar gate-shaped people where you have one particular skill, but you need to be good at a lot of other things, that in order to get there, that's you have to unlearn what you learned at school. And so where my interest comes really is in how is the future of work going to be shaped by the future of learning, and what does the future of learning need to look like in order to deliver people into the world of work who are going to be good innovators and creative thinkers and resilient, empathetic people. And does the current system at school set you up for that? I would say probably not. There's great things about school. I'm an ex-teacher myself, so I know all the good things about school, but I also know how school streamlines you, I suppose, into one particular type of learner and with one particular area of expertise or one particular set of skills. I want to understand how humans develop in a way that makes them resilient, creative, and adaptable in the world of work. Looking at the school period to be the first phase of a lifelong learning journey that every kid goes on and every human goes on, where you're continually learning. You don't stop learning when you get your first job, and then you might get into some learning and development things at work, or some training things at work. It's almost a case of how do we just make that the first stop on a journey that leads to continuous learning.
So Charlie, thank you for all of that. It is really great to hear how you're so passionate about harnessing that resilience and creativity and so many other things. So it seems like an obvious question, but why streams? What has grabbed you about streams and has led you to agree to be on our advisory board?
So the team behind it is experienced and empathetic of the situation that its members are going to be in. The second thing is the resources that are going to be available. So from our perspective, that's going to be fantastic to know, if you're stuck on, we want to introduce a bit of this to our kids' learning environment, but we don't know what the best resources are to do that or how to use that. Fantastic. And then the third one is the community. I feel like it's a community that we can get as involved in as we want, rather than feeling you're kind of all in or you're not in at all. So that very egalitarian community of home learners and homeschool is going to be crucial. So yeah, those three things.
And it's that ease of connection that is so needed and so important, isn't it? So Charlie, thank you absolutely so much. We're really, really pleased you're on board. So thank you ever so much.
So that was Charlie, the final member of our advisory board. We are drawing to a close now. We have loved doing this session. We are so excited about getting streams out there. Our hope is that you'll be a little captivated by the vision behind it all. Our hope is that you will want to engage with it, that you will want to spread the word to lots of other people. I'm just wondering now, Joe, Matt, Juliet, any final thoughts or words from you?
I think exactly what Joe's just put in. I was going to put that as well. If people want to find out more or get in contact with us, so hello@streams.education is a great place. The email's in the chat, and then if you're interested to find out more, we can keep you updated about how the website's coming along. And also we are on Facebook and on Instagram as well. So please, feel free to connect with us that way and join us on the journey. We'd love to have you along.
Yeah, I'm going to just throw a few words in before I dash off. Is, the thing about sharing stories is that when you hit a rough patch, the last person you're going to speak to is the one who appears to have it all together and have it all perfect. And that's why we need to be real and authentic when we share our stories, because we are more help to one another when we share our struggles. And certainly been the case for me, though some of you have sat in some of my talks before, and you know, I share from, you know, some of our hard experiences, difficult times. But hopefully that means that I'm more used to you than if I'd got it all right first time round without any difficulty at all.
Brilliant. Thank you, Juliet. And Juliet, thank you so much for running Learn Free. Joe, any final thoughts from you?
Just a privilege to be here and sharing with you all, and we do look forward to inviting you or you joining us even on the streams journey.
So we will be present throughout the week at different sessions. I believe Joe, myself and Matt, we're in the newbie room tomorrow if you'd like to join us there. But for now, I feel like I'm ending the news or something. But for now, just thank you so much for joining with us. I keep saying that, but we are hugely, hugely grateful. And yes, do get in touch whenever you want to. Many thanks, everyone.
Oh, any questions? Anyone got any questions? That's the other thing. Any questions? Are we stopping?
Well, I'm going to duck up, but if any you guys can hang in, I've got to get ready for Brian.
Juliet, you go and get ready for Brian.
He needs to get ready for.
Anyone else? Any questions? Anything? Don't want to cut anyone off. I think
thank you, Lottie. That's very kind.
Yes, encouragements too. Encouragements are great. We like encouragements. No, seriously, everyone, I think we spent a great time together. Enjoy the rest of the time. Enjoy the next session if you're about to tune into that one, and hopefully see you throughout the week. Many thanks.
Thanks very much, everyone.